Hey guys, welcome to my vlog. This is Create with Dawn, and please watch the video on how to cut and keep the original hem on your pants. So first thing I did guys is I fold the pants, the bottom area to the desired length of my customer. Then just watch the video on how I did it. Okay, so for the second pair of pants, what I'm gonna do, because my client wanted to be thicker on the bottom, so I'm not gonna cut anything here. All I have to do is just sew it from here all around, and after that I'm just gonna take all these stitches off and do the next step after, so you know she can have that a thicker hem that she like, and at the same time keep the original hem from the pants. Okay, so I changed my foot because I've noticed on the first pants it's like the stitches is not even, so here I'm gonna make it a little bit even. Although guys, it's actually hard to sew if it's a thicker materials, but with this machine it really doesn't matter. You just have to put something or do something to make it work. So at this point I'm gonna use this zipper foot to hem the pants, so just like that guys, so it's like even on the line. So again, let's start. Inside it's easier to take it that way, especially with the jeans, because you know that threads that they're using is much heavier. I don't really have that heavy threads right now. That's why earlier my thread just keep breaking, and I think my threads is old, so I use the one for embroidery because it's much stronger threads instead of just a regular cotton. I actually have a lot of stuff that is actually old that I think I'm gonna throw most of them. And guys, so after you open that, you're gonna put it in. See how easy that is? It's actually not much nicer, this process of hemming your pants when you're cutting it and hemming it back. This is the easiest and actually nicest way to do it, because you know I usually just cut the pants off and then make a new hem, which it's not really a problem for me, but you know sometimes it'll be nice if you can keep the original hem from the pants. So yeah, so I just learned that process and actually I just love it. So guys, I'm just gonna continue doing this like that so I can show you how to tuck it in. So after that guys, so let's say you already did everything, and what you're gonna do is you just put it in, just put that back there in, and you just like kind of like making a sandwich, put it back. See how that is? Look, you keep the original one and boom. See, very nice. Okay, I'm just gonna continue doing it until I go all around. guys, so I'm done taking all the stitches off. The next step would be tucking this in. As you noticed earlier, I saw it, right? So here I saw it from this point, and you don't want to cut it because you like a thicker hem. So what you can do is just tuck it in and pull this back, just like that, guys. But if you feel like it's like, you know, really thick or long, you can cut it. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, because when I tuck it in, it's actually kind of like longer. Let's see. Yeah, it's actually longer, so I guess I'm gonna end up cutting a little bit out of it, just over here, probably like half an inch. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna cut half an inch from it. Take this bulky part. There, guys, just take not too much, just a little bit, so when you insert it, it will fit perfectly. Just continue cutting until from the beginning. Alright, guys, so let's try it again if it will fit. Okay, guys, I think it's perfect. There you go. So just like that. So you do it that way. There. See, it's actually very pretty, and it looks like you didn't even cut anything on it. Right, so just like that. And now you do pin them. You can clean them later, or if you want to clean it now before you sew, you can clean it too. But you know what, I'm cleaning as I go. That's how I do it. So see, guys, see how that pretty looking. So just like that. See, did you even notice that I did something to it? Of course you will notice it because you're looking at me doing that. But you know, if you just turn it, like, see, you see the difference? There. So this is a very good idea and technique to hem your pants if it's long for you or a friend or your client. So this is how you do it. guys, I've done all the stitching of. So next process would be, first things first is I'm gonna take some of this out so it's not so thick over here. Let me take that off. There. Okay, now ready to do the sandwich. See how easy that is?